Westonbirt Arboretum, where they're celebrating one of Britain's oldest trees, the historic 2,000-year-old lime. And joining me now to celebrate this is the renowned artist and sculptor Richard Harris. Hello, good morning.
Hi.
Now, you've been commissioned to produce this artwork with the coppice branches of this 2,000-year-old lime. How are you going about this project?
Well, my sort of initial thought when I saw all the wood was there's masses and masses of wood, and if put together that would add up into quite a sizable tree, even though it's made up out of lots of little pieces, lots of little stems really. My thought was to try and make something that's really gave an idea of the size of a tree that people would expect to see here if it was 2,000 years old.
Mm-hmm. Are people going to be able to walk in it and have a look?
Well, the idea is that you make something that's equivalent to this massive tree that gives people a sort of sense of the scale of it and the age of it, and you'll be able to walk inside. It's hollow inside, and be able to look up at the sky through the middle. I mean, actually, if you added all the rings together that we're using, all the tree rings, it would come to around about 2,000 years.
Wow.
But it's just in a different form,
yes.
Which is really the interesting thing about this particular tree.
Okay.
And so the sculpture's there to really to sort of get people thinking about that and to experience it in a different way, since there's no obvious tree there to experience at the moment. It's all being coppiced.
Is there a prominent message behind it as well?
It produces an experience that people can have that then links them into what's happening with the tree and its history, and just a sort of an aspect of an ancient tree that isn't here at the moment. Yeah. Just gives it a slightly different angle on things. Absolutely. And puts people. The idea is that people look and feel it for themselves and come up with their own interpretations, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're renowned for doing very large-scale sculptures. Is this pretty small compared to your other pieces?
Well, relatively, but I mean, the way I like to think of it is it's all human scale, and that can be very large if it's connecting to a larger landscape, a larger place, the architecture of a place, or and people's movement through it is very important. And this is, this kind of fits quite comfortably within what I've done before.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, we'll let you get back to it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for talking to us, Richard.
Okay, thank you.
Now I'm joined by Ben Oliver, the Learning Manager here at Westonbirt. Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Tell us, what's the reason for this commission?
What we were keen to do was kind of use art and a sculpture of some form to really encourage people to look a bit more closely and just consider the amount of wood that's produced, and also the cycle of coppicing. So this is cut on a 20-year rotation, so it was last cut in 1992, and it was just been cut in November, and it will grow over the next 20 years up to sort of 12-13 metres, and it will then be recoppiced. And a lot of people might think that that's killing the tree, because that's what people think about cutting down trees, but actually it's made this tree what it is today, and it's allowed it to live as long as it has. And so obviously by doing it, it's an important part of the cycle.
Absolutely. So has this happened every 20 years for the last 2,000 years?
I wasn't around then, so I'm not sure. But I mean, we've imposed the 20-year rotation, so a lot of coppicing is done on a shorter rotation. So our hazel is done on an 8-year rotation. It really depends on what you want to use the wood for. We obviously use it for things like firewood. We also sell it with our wood sales and so forth, whereas in the past they might have used it for hurdles and things like that. So it really depends. But certainly the way that they measure the age of coppices is they sort of see that they gradually grow outwards, and they can actually make estimations of how old it is by the size of the coppice stool. So this one has about 16 or 17 different stools within it, and they've measured that. It's about 25 metres across in total, and that's where they've come up with an estimation of 2,000 years. It might be a bit younger, it might be a bit older, we will never know.
Okay. Now, obviously it does produce a lot of wood in the 20 years since it was last coppiced. What other advantages are there for coppicing this tree?
Well, coppicing obviously, historically was done as a way of producing timber and producing a sustainable source of timber. And that takes advantage of the fact that trees regrow, or a lot of our native trees regrow when they're cut down. Today, obviously, we use coppicing for a range of other reasons. So it has a lot of wildlife benefits because it lets in light. If you've got different areas which are at different age of coppice, you obviously get different sort of ground flora, different wildflowers, and therefore it's good for different wildlife. So it creates a mosaic of habitats, and so that's what we tend to do it for. As well as the sort of timber use. So we have resident coppicers that work here that are making a living from the wood.
Okay. Why did you commission a sculptor to celebrate this tree?
Well, I mean, we do a lot of sort of in different sorts of interpretation to engage people with the importance of trees and the importance of Westonbirt, and also what the Forestry Commission is doing to look after Westonbirt. And we thought that an art form was, you know, a good way forward. Obviously, as you can see, we have a huge amount of timber that we could use, and so we thought, well, rather than, you know, go with a board or something, let's use the wood. Let's create something that will engage people in a different way and maybe make them think. And we wanted to use as much of the wood as possible because that is an important part of coppicing, is to produce timber. So we've got several tons of wood within that sculpture, and it hopefully will engage people, you know, in you know what coppicing is and why it's important.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for talking to us today, Ben. Thank you.
Thanks.
Joining me now is Rowena, one of the volunteers who is helping Richard on this sculpture. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for talking to me.
Not quite all right.
Now, can you tell us what your role is within this project?
Well, I am a volunteer for the Arboretum anyway, so I do the wood sales every month.
Okay.
And basically working with wood, so it's a unique opportunity to work with a world-renowned artist like Richard, and it's just a nice thing to do, to be in the Arboretum working with this, and I'm looking forward to seeing it actually coming to fruition, whereby the sculpture that we're doing decays gradually, and then the new growth from the old tree comes up, and as one grows, one dies.
Yes.
And you know, I'm looking forward to doing that.
Okay. Have you ever done anything like this before? Any kind of art sculpture before?
Not on this scale. No, not on this scale. I do a lot of woodwork and carving and stuff like that at home, but nothing like this.
Is Richard quite good at mentoring and telling you and giving you instructions?
Absolutely, yes. He's very, very good, and it's interesting to see the way his mind works and where he's coming from and what he's doing is totally unique. It's fascinating.
Is it inspiring you to tackle anything larger when you're at home?
Oh, I don't think my garden's big enough. But yes, I mean, why not? We can all learn from other people, and I maybe got one or two ideas going on.
Oh, brilliant! That's excellent. Do you think the public will receive it well?
Yes, I'm sure they will. Everybody that's come up so far, there's a lot of people walking through the woods and coming and having a look at it. And we haven't had any negative reactions to it yet. Brilliant. A couple of people have said, "Oh, you shouldn't cut down a tree that old," but when we explain to them that it has to be done to keep it alive, I know it's a difficult concept for some people to understand that you do have to cut something down to make it grow.
Yeah. At least now there'll be a huge structure here to compensate for the lack of the tree.
Well, for 4 or 5 years, yes.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. I think it should last for maybe 7 or 8 years before it all starts falling down. But then we'll have new growth by then.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for talking to us, Rowena, and we'll let you get back to work. Thank you.
Pleasure.